And all right, there we go. Okay, like I said, we're going to get into opportunity. Got a couple of guests in the background. Future Hall of Famer David Flood. And as always, spectacular Mark Simon is in the background as well, so he's going to be helping us out. Yeah, the back of your head is on the camera. That's okay. All right, so as always, we get into command from the KWL One Stop. A couple of things I want to show you first that just came out about a half hour ago. You know, we have the command tools and resources that are available for you guys. And what I've added to that is this part here, which is technology.kw.com. So in addition to everything that I'm showing you, this is an awesome site that Keller Williams put out explaining the different areas as far as command goes, the new mobile app and everything else, KW Labs. This is a great, great resource for you in addition to everything that we're doing. So I wanted to point that out to you on the resources page. Another thing that we've got that's brand new is I know you guys have seen the Out Front magazines that come out from Keller Williams, kind of give you an update on what's going on. Have you seen those floating around, the Out Front magazines? Hello, I can get some participation here, please, Mark.
What?
Oh boy, these guys, I tell you what, okay. We now have the online version on the KWL One Stop under the culture, and this will take you to the online Out Front magazine as well. So this kind of tells you what Keller Williams is doing as far as an industry. So a couple of resources I needed to point out to you before we get rolling here. So let's get started. Let's get into KW Command. Go ahead and log in. Dave, you're going to have to reduce that out of the way and log into KW Command. Okay, and remember, if it asks you if the site uses cookies, you just accept it. I usually close that to get out of the way. Now, opportunities are your sales pipeline. This keeps track of your current business, your potential future business, and your current and potential future income. And it's actually working very, very well. To create an opportunity, which is basically a sales pipeline, you have to have a contact in first. So keep that in mind. So if you're going to be listing a home, that's going to be an opportunity. Or if you're working with a buyer, that's an opportunity, but you have to have that actual contact in there, okay? As far as what you're working in. So let's dive right in. I'm going to go ahead and click on opportunities.
So Al, you say you have to have your contact in the contacts.
Yes.
And then you can click on opportunities and it'll drag them over.
You can do it one of two ways. You can actually create an opportunity from the contact, or you can create an opportunity and drag a contact in. Okay? So these stages, you see on our contacts, we have listings and buyers, and these things cannot be changed. We've got cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. So as long as you've been doing it, Mark, and Dave, you're newer, which is great. What would you consider a cultivate stage?
Somebody who's not ready to buy yet.
Not ready to buy yet.
But they're
not ready to sell.
But they've been talking about it.
They've been talking about it, maybe going to do it in the next year.
But you want to keep in contact because
you want to keep in contact.
You don't talk to them, that's when they hire that guy.
That's when Mark doesn't talk to them, that's when they hire Dave. That's how it works, right? Appointment is pretty obvious. That's when you're in your appointment stage. Active is obviously for listings anyways. That's when you actively have the listing, under contract, and closed. Now these are all fixed, like I said. What's neat is that you can have stages in each of these that you have the ability to modify. So let's look at the listings and let's go ahead and click on cultivate. Now these, watch, nurture, and hot, these are stages that are defaulted and created by Keller Williams International. And you have the ability to actually edit these stages, add new stages based on what you're doing. Okay, so think about if you actually wanted to have a stage for bold or something like that. You could actually have a bold stage in there. And what I want you to look at is what we can do when we actually edit the stages. Cultivate, I don't know how many stages I'm particularly going to have in there. What's your thoughts on that, Mark?
As far as cultivating?
As far as cultivate, I mean, how many stages do you need, and how many things before it actually would be turned into an appointment?
Probably want a separate one for buyers and one for sellers.
Well, you know, we have the separate one for buyers and sellers. So if you think about it, if I go back to the sales pipeline, we have listings and we have buyers. So in the listings, we have cultivate. There's not one for investors yet. Yep, you could create one for investors. Down the road, we'll be able to add these. So if you're going to cultivate, right now they've got watch, nurture, and hot as the stages that they have there. So cultivate to me is, like you said, you've met somebody, they're thinking about it, they're not ready to go yet. Maybe that would be considered the watch stage. Nurturing would be when you're dripping on them, things like that. And then hot's when they're ready to go and you're ready to try to schedule that appointment. But this is just how Keller Williams has designed this. It doesn't have to be this way. So if you click on Edit Stages, here's where you can add, delete, create your own stages, rename it, do anything that you want to it, okay? So a couple of things as we're actually looking at these stages is there's a few things that you can do. The first thing is you can create a checklist for each stage, okay? And this is gonna make more sense when I kind of look at an active listing. We're gonna bounce back to that. The next thing is probability. So let's take what that means. If you put somebody and you created an opportunity in the watch stage, what's the probability that that's going to turn into a paycheck? That's what that means. Right now, we're all doing that manually based on what our ratios are. But think about 6 months from now, when all the systems are linked together, the artificial intelligence is going to be moving your probability based on your production. Okay? And like I said, and of course, you can always add a stage into it. So to kind of show you how this is represented a little bit better, I'm going to go back to the sales pipeline. And I'm going to go into listings, and I'm going to show you on my under contract. And they've got escrow, inspections, and appraisal. And I got to scroll over a little bit. And they've got financing. And then clear to close. These are the stages that are defaulted. You can change these to anything that you want, okay? So on the financing stage, let's take a look at this. Wrong button now. You go back to the under contract. I'm going to go to Edit Stages. And on the financing, I have the ability to have a checklist here. So when I have a checklist, I just put a testing in here, call lender to check in. I can add other items as well. So I'm in my financing stage. I should be review title work, let's say. Anything that you do as far as how your business goes, that's what your checklists are going to be for. You guys following me?
So will this remind you to do these things?
Absolutely. Yes.
How does it remind you?
So what it's going to remind you two ways. When you create checklists, you're going to be reminded in Kelly. You'll get a notification, a push notification from Kelly. And then you'll also get it here in Command. It's not turned on yet, but you'll get notifications here. And then I do see probably within a couple of months where you're going to start, if you set it up, you'll get email notifications, text notifications, however you set it up that you want to be notified, okay? So the neat thing on all of these is look at the probabilities here. These go up. You know, obviously they default you at, if it's in escrow, I've got a 90% chance of closing. Well, I know that's not accurate, so I may want to change that. I'm going to change this to, I've got a deal accepted. I got a 65% chance of closing it. My inspection went good. Now I'm at a 75% chance that I'm going to get a paycheck. Appraisal, that probably should be 50-50 lately. I tell you what, you never know what it's going to be. I've made it to financing, clear to close, 99% chance. So you can kind of see where this probability is going to be important as far as tracking your numbers. And like I said, eventually it's going to track everything automatically for you. So after I've edited my stages, I'm going to go back to the sales pipeline and kind of show you where those probabilities actually show up. So here on my GCI, I have a probable income of $16,677 based on the percentages that have been set up through these stages. You following me, Dave? You're looking a little lost. You following me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Just looking at those numbers.
Exactly. My potential income, meaning everything goes perfect, is $21,000 on everything that I have in the sales pipeline on the listing end. Same thing on the buyers. Probable income, $3,100. Potential income, $3,450. So as we're doing more business and we're entering in contracts into dotloop, it's capturing all of this information and all of this data. So we eventually will not be putting our own percentages in there. It's going to learn as we're doing stuff, okay? Stages. To create an opportunity, basically you just hit the create opportunity button and it's going to say Lakeside team if you have a team. The opportunity type, so I'll just say a listing. The contact, you just start typing in a contact there. So I'm going to use myself. If there was a co-seller, you could do it there. Any custom tags that you've set up. Anticipated closing date. You know, usually for a listing, you're going to, what do you think we would put?
Typically 30 days.
Yeah. I mean, as far as a closing, but think about it. You're listing a property. We're in a listing stage.
For a listing?
So from when I'm starting it.
Currently, it's about 60 days.
Exactly. So, and where are you going to think about getting that kind of information?
From the MLS, what the days on market are.
You're following me. Yeah, days on market, things like that. You're doing your CMAs. So that's where you're going to kind of put this out here. So I'm going to say it's going to take me till June 28th on this. Estimated listing price. Well, I live kind of by 16 Mile, but I'm just going to say I live in a $250,000 house. So everybody's impressed. Is everybody impressed?
Very well.
Thanks. I knew you would be. Commission rate that you're going to be charging on the listing side, not the total end. And the opportunity phase. So remember, let me see if that doesn't let me move it out of the way, but remember we've got cultivate, appointment, and then the other stages that are there automatically. So you can actually drop them into any phase right off the bat. So I'm going to say that I'm actually in the appointment phase. And the stages were the stages that you could create. So I'm going to say that I am scheduling the appointment right now. And then, of course, if you wanted a description, you can put it there. So I'm going to create the opportunity. Here's the details. You can actually create a seller's net out sheet from this point, and that can be incorporated right into your pre-listing package, okay? So you'll be able to do all of this. So now if I look at the sales pipeline, let's see where that went. Listings, I'm in the appointment stage, and here's LaForte listing. And we're trying to schedule an appointment. I don't know, for me, I don't know about you, Mark, but I think it's kind of silly to have stages of scheduling an appointment, scheduled and kept. I think that's like it's kind of,
If you make an appointment, you make an appointment.
if you make an appointment, you make an appointment. That's the way I say. But this is the beauty of the system. You get to put the different stages that you have going on with this.
Well, they just want to know that you can have different stages for setting an appointment.
Exactly. So you probably could.
So you set an appointment, but they canceled on you, so you didn't keep it.
So let's think about how we're doing business. So instead, if we're at the appointment phase, that means that we have probably already scheduled an appointment. So for me, I would have maybe scheduled appointment first, and then maybe I would change the scheduling to pre-listing, where you're creating your market analysis, doing a pre-listing package, things like that. And then I like the kept because you don't get 100% of your appointments, right? It doesn't happen. So kept would be there. So now that I've created this actual opportunity, when I go from stage to stage, it's just a matter of dragging everything off. Alkita, I'm going to answer your question in a second there. So I've been scheduling. I can just drag it over into scheduled. Okay?
How do you do that?
Just hover, hold it.
Like, you get the hand on there?
You get the hand on it and drag it over into the next stage. Okay? That's the beauty. It's drag and drop. That's how this is. It's a drag and drop opportunity. Okay? The next thing you can do is, okay, I've scheduled it, and let's just say the only thing that's, I think those are the only stages they have are the 3 on there. Yep. So then I've kept that. I can go ahead and I can hit scheduled. Whoops, it's not letting me drag it. Come on, don't make a liar. And now I'm in the kept stage. Now, there's a couple of ways that I can move it to the next phase, which is the active phase. So remember, cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and close. So let's say I took that listing and it became active. I can actually drag it up to the active button. Sometimes it takes a couple of times, and it's dropped it into the active part of this. So now I am in the active part of the listing. It's dragged the stage over to the active part. Okay? So now Alkita asked a question, can you put a date for a reminder what to go off of? So right now, as you're doing your checklists, there's no dates because it would lock in every type of opportunity. But here's how it works. So now that I have had my active listing dragged into what I've named a launching, yours probably says something different, okay? I've renamed the stage to launching. I've got 5 items on a checklist here. Because I've drug it in, any stage that I drag this into, if there's a checklist associated with each of these stages, it attaches to that opportunity. So for example, if you look, if I drag over to showing, I don't have a checklist there. You see the 0 went to 0. I drag it back into launching. Now I've got a checklist. So what I want to do is I want to update this checklist. And I want to take photos of this. This is where your dates are going to come into play, okay? So now I'm going to click on here. I'm going to say, all right, I took this, I'm launching this listing. I need to take photos on the 13th. I need to install the lockbox on the 15th. You see where I can kind of go with dates as far as that goes. You following me?
Yeah.
Now remember, I've got 5 items that I put on here, and mine's not perfect, guys. I still have to do all my stages and all these checklists and things like that. Let's say you have a particular item or a particular listing in this case, and I have 5 default checklists that are there. This particular listing, I need to do something special. So what I can do is I can click update. I can add an item for this listing. It's going to make a liar out of me. How do I edit it? Okay, click on the button to edit it. And let's say I needed to order drone photos. I can set the date. Let's say I want to do that on the 16th. I'm okay. And now it's actually added that just to that opportunity. You following me? Okay. So it didn't move it. It didn't add it to the full checklist, just to that opportunity. So now you can add things to your checklist for each listing because each listing is done a little bit individually. Okay. You following me?
Yes.
Aha, we're rocking. We're rocking. Within opportunities, so if we've got our listing here, we can take it through a few stages. So we've got launching. Now we've got showing, which I consider active on the market, basically. I just labeled it as showing. And then you're starting to get offers. You can call that negotiations. So once I'm in a negotiation phase and I actually click on this, this allows me to actually add offers into this listing, or if it's a buyer, into the buyer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add a new offer, name it whatever you want. So we're going to call this Dave Flood's awesome offer. See how I did that? I'm including you.
You need to put an E letter on it. Put an E in your
Awesome. All right.
There you go.
Gosh, these
Now
people
it's
that
an
know how to
awesome
spell,
offer.
I'm telling you. Going to create the offer, and it takes you through the details that are going to be with this. The offer date, what's your estimated closing date. Then you're going to enter the parties. Who's your buyer? Oh, looks like Tony was on this computer, so guess what? Tony's buying this house. He just doesn't know it yet. See, pre-approved, pre-qualified, the other agent's name. I'm going to just say me, any information, phone numbers, things like that. And you're basically just clicking through these items. Offer details, cash and finance amount. So since this is nationwide, this is basically their down payment. What are they putting down on this? Okay, so I forget, how much did I say was our offer amount? Offer details, I can click on that. Parties, the listing was $250. Parties, then our terms is the next spot. So let's just say they're offering 200,000 and they're putting 20,000 down, financing 180. Their earnest money, either a percentage or the dollar amount.
5,000.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. Option fee, we'll have the ability to take this out eventually, but across the nation, people actually pay an option fee to purchase properties. So they say, I'm going to give you an offer and I'm going to give you an option fee on top of that to lock my offer in. It's kind of weird how it's done, but it's done in different areas. Buyer will
Is
get,
it separate from the offer? or-
yeah, it is.
So it's like just paying a fee to get your offer accepted.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you got to bribe the other.
You got to bribe them. Yeah, you got to bribe them in other states. Termination option. For me, this is basically your home inspection period. That's what I'm going to use here. So I'm going to say 10 days. Seller will contribute $425 for a home warranty. Seller will contribute, let's say $5,000 towards closing costs. Then you have agent analysis. This is where you have the ability to put in the pros and cons of the offer on this. So this is important because remember, all of this is going to kind of interact within KW Command, and you're going to actually be able to send offers to your clients through this system. That's why you want to get used to using it. What's really neat about it is, let's say you had multiple offers, you'll be able to send all three side by side, giving the pros and cons and the likely percentage which offer is going to close. Okay, so I'll go ahead and click save. Yeah, Nicola says if she enters an EMD dollar amount, it doesn't save or add the percentage like it did for me. One thing that I'm going to mention is if you're running into issues and things don't seem to be saving at all, you may have to clear out your browser and refresh all your cache and things like that. And from a browser window, if you're using Chrome, if you click on these three dots and you go to more tools, you can clear browsing data. I'm not going to do it because it's going to screw us all up if I do that. Basically, when I clear it out, I clear everything except for my passwords. And then you hit clear data, and sometimes that'll reset it. because they're constantly doing improvements in command currently, that may fix it for you. Another option that you can have that may work for you is you can actually open a browser in an incognito window just by clicking on these three dots, hit new incognito window, and logging into command from this browser. So this does not save the cookies and things like that. That's another option that you can try to see if that'll work for you. So try the incognito, see if that works as well. Make sure you're using Chrome. And if not, tell Benny that he has to hire me to get all new computers for your team. That's the other option. See how I did that? Yeah. Yeah, protect the profit, make some money. So now can accept this offer, reject this offer, add a negotiation, edit the offer, add analysis. Here's our send the offer. Okay, so I can send this to the clients. They can actually eventually be able to actually sign and accept the offers there or remove the offer at that point. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say that we've accepted this offer. Now at this point, you see this commissions button opened up for us. So I can click on the commissions button and sale price, commission, the number of units, the dollar amount, co-broker payment, paid to the agents, add agents. Is this starting to look like anything familiar? What's this looking like?
Like your
Your green sheet. This is where our green sheet is going to eventually end up being. So that way we're not going to have to actually have a green sheet. It's all going to be here. Look, the royalty.
Take care of your green sheet for you.
Exactly. The green sheet will be going away. You're going to be entering all the information in here.
So instead of sending over your offer for your buyer and then filling out the green sheet, once you get done getting the offer,
It's already there. Exactly. All of your stuff is going to be already there. We'll have other items that we'll be able to pre-put in there. You know, they'll have the KW cares in there and other additional items, but this is where it's going to be. And what's really neat is that I think our green sheets are very faulty because we know that the prices change.
Yeah.
Sometimes the commission changes. Well, as we're making changes in the system, it's going to update it all for us automatically, which is really cool.
And once you submit a green sheet, you're done. You can't resubmit it unless they send it back to you.
Right, exactly. This way, there's no way to, there's not going to have to be that where it has to come back to you. It's going to be tracked and done automatically
When
through
you do
here.
this in command, is MCA seeing this? Or
She will eventually. Yep. Yep, she will eventually. So as all of this is going through, and as these opportunities were to hit a certain stage, that's going to trigger the MCA. That's when they are going to be notified that, hey, we have a solid deal here. Okay. With the offers on our actual offer thing, and I don't know if they still have it here. Let me see. I'm going to click on these dots. I'm going to edit the, actually, documents. So this is where you're going to be able to add your documents and an actual final submittal to the MCA.
Will you be able to drag and drop
Exactly.
your offer into there?
You'll be able to drag and drop your offer into there. You'll be able to submit everything to the MCA, and it'll be smarter. So next year, Kelly's going to be able to read your offer, so it's going to fill in all the blanks for you. Yeah, I know it's crazy. I know it's crazy. Yeah, this takes place of the green sheet. This does not take place of Dotloop. Dotloop's still an integral partner with Keller Williams Lakeside, or Keller Williams as whole. It's not going away for probably 1.5 to 2 years. Yes, International does have on the radar to have their own transaction system. But as for now, Dotloop is going to work hand in hand with this system later this year. So everything will be kind of synced together for you guys.
Dotloop, basically just our document storage.
That's what I'm thinking. It's going to be basically the document storage, document prep until all of our documents get into here and things like that. And they're going to sync and they're going to communicate back and forth for everything.
So you're saying that our PAs and everything else is going to be uploaded into command?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, everything's going to be in there. and or synced from Dotloop into there. So you'll be able to sync it all and bring it all over, okay? The other neat thing about this is when you create a listing, so I'm gonna go back to the opportunity details here. When I create a listing, basically it asks me to name it. It's a LaForte listing, that's what I named it for. Some people are gonna call it 123 Main Street, some things like that. It's actually gonna be linked in also with the KWLS, which is the Keller Williams Listing Service. This is, once you list a property, this is where all the data goes to disseminate out to our Zillows and Trulias and all that other stuff. So what I can actually do, if this works, is I can actually pick a listing of mine and connect it to this actual opportunity. These are all closed that are showing up, so I'm gonna see if this will actually work. And there, all my listing information went there. So think about before I would even get an offer, now the system knows that I've listed this at 159.9. It's figuring out my potential commission based on that, days on market and things like that. Let's see, will it integrate with Instanet, Paragon for e-signing, uploading, and MLS data sheets, etc.? I think it's going to be very similar to Dotloop, so that with Instanet, you're going to actually have to drag the information into KW Command. I don't think it's going to necessarily integrate directly with any of our MLS as far as doing contracts and things like that. So it's going to be an option, kind of like you guys have the option to use Dotloop or Instanet. Dotloop, we know, integrates into everything. Instanet, you've got to bring things over, okay? Any questions so far on that? We hanging in there? You're awful quiet over there.
Yeah,
Just watching, just
We
watching.
talked about financing earlier. How is Keller Mortgage gonna interact with this?
So as far as Keller Mortgage goes, if it's a Keller Mortgage deal, when it goes into financing, then your consumer on their end with the new consumer app is going to be triggered so that they have the ability to follow their financing all the way through the process. That's what the key is them being able to get in, look at that new app that's the end of the second quarter, and they'll be able to follow this way they'll be following. Let's get back into this opportunity so I can explain it better. This way, when I'm under contract with a listing, they are going to have the ability to see what stage we're in, the checklist, things that are going to be done, things like that. The financing will kick in with Keller Mortgage, and they'll be able to see exactly where they're at with their financing, which is awesome. So for me, as you guys see, I have been using this. I mean, it's a great tool to track everything. Now, when you create an opportunity, there's a couple of things that I want to point out. So let's go back to the opportunity that I created. Where did I go? The LaForte listing. So let's say I created an opportunity by mistake, okay? There's two ways to get rid of an opportunity in the system. You can archive it, or you can say what's called a lost opportunity. So if I clicked on this, and let's say this listing expired, and I didn't relist it, it would be considered a lost opportunity. And it's very important to know the difference between the two. So a lost opportunity means I had an actual deal, a listing or a buyer that got lost. Now the system's recording that. It knows that I had 4 listings, one of them I lost, so my ratio is now 75%. Are you following me? That's the important thing. If I made a mistake and I created an opportunity that really wasn't a deal, as I kind of did here, let me get back into, that was under active. Then what I can do is I can actually archive this opportunity, and it doesn't go against the ratios.
So like it never existed.
Like it never existed. Like I screwed up, or maybe I created 2 opportunities by mistake for the same person. Same thing, exactly. When you're creating opportunities, guys, keep in mind you have 2 sides of a deal. Okay, and I had this issue and I couldn't wrap my head around it. So I have a an actual deal under contract here on Fairchild, and I've double dipped this. So technically, I have a listing opportunity, and I should also be having a buyer. Exactly, and that's where I screwed up. So I need to actually create a buyer opportunity for that as well.
You had 2 transactions in one.
Yeah, you had 2 transactions in one. So, I was talking to International about it, and I said, why can't we just have it in one? And they had a great point. Well, you're going to have different checklists and different stages for each half of the deal. It's really 2 deals. So if that makes sense, yeah, it's 2 transactions. You just have to maintain both of them. Mhm.
But can you merge the 2 together, or can you separate the 2 out?
That I'm working on.
From one-
So I'm in
From-
discussions
when you're
with them.
doing the paperwork, can you just create 2 transactions off one set of paperwork?
And that's, as of yesterday, I had talked to one of the developers down there. They think that's a great idea. So what they're working on is, like in this, I will have the ability to, there'll be like a link opportunity. So it'll link both of them. They're still separate because you have different stages and different checklists. However, the similar items like your offers, your check, or your your net outs, things like that will be shared. So that's coming. I'm working on it. I'm working on
The
it.
listing is automatically going to be separate, and then when you write the offer, that's also going to be separate.
Right.
So that creates your 2 transactions,
That creates your 2
even
transactions.
though it's one deal.
Yep, exactly. Kathleen says, so then do you create under buyer? Yes. So what I should be doing right here is I'm going to go back to the sales pipeline. I'm going to create and I'm just going to do it. I'm going to create an opportunity for a buyer. My contact is, this is my contact. Commission rate is 3%. Now the opportunity phase, I know that it's already active. Nope, let me see. Active, and we'll call it negotiations. Create the opportunity. And now what I can do is go back into the sales pipeline. Buyer is active. It didn't give me the option, but I should have been able to actually have, instead of go to negotiations, just have it under contract, which it is. So I'm going to drag it to under contract. Sometimes it's a little sticky. It's now in my under contract. With this particular one, I'm going to put this as inspections. And I would have, and what I should have done is actually created the offer in there, which I'll do later today, so that all the numbers line up and it has my commission and everything else. So that's how I should be doing it for this Fairchild listing, is having the 2 sides. So I'm going to play with that later today for sure, and see where we go from there. So like I said, this is definitely something that you want to start using because it's working very, very well. I think the hardest thing is you have to look at your business and decide what your stages need to be called, what they need to be named, the order, how many stages that you need, and things like that. What I do see for you teams down the road is these checklists are going to be a lot better down the road, to where you will actually be able to have your checklist and have that assigned to a specific team member as well. So think about that. You'll be able to have it assigned to different team members. We see that that's going to be probably within the next month. That's something that they're working on as well. So I think I've slammed you enough with that stuff. I think we did pretty good. Did you guys get anything out of this?
Come a long way.
It's come a long way. This is something that is definitely working. Make sure that you mess around with it. Let's see. So Kathleen asks, so then do you create under buyer? So I'm creating my own stages. So let's back up, Kathleen. So we start in our opportunities here. And these are your pipelines, listings and buyers, cannot change, cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. So in your case, you're saying, do you create your own stages? Yes and no. You can if you want to. You just have to get into one of these stages. Now you see all of these pipelines are across here. Cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, close. This is where you can edit your stages and create your stages. So for cultivate, let's say I wanted to change these stages or add new ones. I'm going to hit edit stages and watch. So I want to change that, and I'm going to call that, and this is for a buyer. Let's say I called this lead captured and actively looking. And the probability of when I take a buyer that it actually turns into a paycheck at that stage, we'll say it's 20%. Okay, so now I've changed the stage name. So let's say now I've got the lead capture and actively looking. Now let's say I wanted this nurture above that. I'm just going to drag it. Nurture stage goes first, lead capture, actively looking. Hot is there. So now you're saying, if we can add another stage, how about this? We add a stage and we call this pre-approval process. Probability, I don't know, we'll just say a 60% probability. Can add my checklist if I want right there. Let's say that this is going to be right here, or after they're nurtured, right there. It's all custom to what you want to do, okay? So it's based on what your process is. The idea is take what they have there, start keeping track when you have a deal. I think the best is do it the old-fashioned way, man. Grab a piece of paper, start making yourself checklist and say, what stage would that fall into? What should I call this particular stage? You don't want to get crazy and have like 20 stages. I mean, to me, a stage is a major change in something. I am nurturing for a listing. I've taken the listing. I'm actively showing the listing. I'm in negotiations. A major stage. Think of it that way as far as stages go. So the last thing that I want to show you guys is under our contacts, you have the ability to enter a contact, and you also have the ability now to enter a lead. So what's the difference? The difference between a contact and a
Contact
lead.
somebody that you know, and a lead is somebody that you're gonna follow up with.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. You know,
No, agree. I want you to add to it.
no, a contact's just somebody that you basically have in your contacts, you know, that you talk to every day, but somebody that's actually interested in purchasing a home, I would consider, you know, a lead.
Or somebody that you've done business with in your past.
Yeah.
Maybe your sphere of influence could be a contact. They define a lead as somebody that may be looking to buy or sell within the next year, but that's all your personal preference. So the thing is if I go ahead and I have a lead, and the reason I'm pointing this out is because we have bold coming up, and you guys are going to be getting leads in bold. This is a great spot where you can keep track of them. So what I'm going to do is I can add a lead. I'm going to do one so it'll show up here. Enter in the information that you have, phone numbers, sources, the type of lead they are, a buyer or a seller. You can put price ranges. You see, I'm not going to bore you with all of this. I'm going to go ahead and create that lead. An assignment. So assigned. I'm going to create that lead. Did it work? Did it work? Did it work?
What does assign mean?
Assign means more for a team. Okay, so if you've got a team, you can assign that lead to whoever's on your team for that. And let's see if it worked here. I don't think it worked for me. I must have not put in enough information. Well, I've got kind of a lead that I had started here. Now, the differences between contacts and leads, when I look at the Albert lead, I can turn them into a contact, meaning, hey, yeah, they're going to look, you know, they're 6 months down the road. Or I can take this actual contact and add them to the sales pipeline right from here. So think about it. I've taken a seller lead. I can add them. They're like, okay, yeah, we're gonna start talking to you about selling. I can add them to the seller's sales pipeline. Yes, move it to the sales pipeline. And now it brings up the opportunity. So what phase would I be in with Albert? Probably a cultivate phase. Are you starting to see how this flows? You guys seeing how this starts to flow? So then I'd be able to create that from that point. Okay. Kathleen says contact is someone who's ready to buy or sell in the next 60 days or a past client. It's all personal, but I think that's a good rule of thumb for sure. Is there any other questions at this point? Don't do these sales pipelines with past business, okay? You guys have your workflows, you have your CRMs, you're doing it currently the way you're doing it. I say run this alongside your current business. Start doing it now so you can see how these flows are and see what works and what doesn't work for you, okay? If you have any issues, there's a couple of spots that you can get to. The first one is a support. This is actually a chat that will go down to international, and they will actually chat back with you. So you can get in touch, you can leave a message. Sometimes it takes about 10, 15 minutes, but if any of you know the support, if you were to email them, that's about 2 to 7 days before you get a response. So we've gotten some good response from there. Another thing you can do is you're in these stages and you're like, you know, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. Mark just said, hey, well, can we combine these? Well, you click on the little lab. This is where you can post your ideas. And you can also attach a file. So they are really, really good about if you send pictures and screenshots. So if I were to take a screenshot of this, I would attach that and say, you know, maybe draw an arrow and say, you know, this should be saying this. So they're very good. This is the only way that our system is going to continue to improve is from the feedback from our agents. Well, I hope that was helpful. So is there any other questions? Are we all in on opportunities, sales pipeline? We're going to flow with it. Nicola, I would really like you to tell me how it interacts with the team. I don't have access to a team stuff. So let me know how that flow goes so we can pass that on to some people that have some teams as well, okay? And that's it. I don't see anybody typing. I'm going to call it a day from the studios of Keller Williams Lakeside, high upon the building of Hayes. Help me out here. That's all we got for you guys. See you next time.